Hi, welcome to another poetry analysis. We're looking at Realities, a poem by Kenneth Slessor. We're looking at the sound of the language, the sentence structures, the style, the meaning, and the overall effect of the poem. So I think it's really important to note that this poem is in the style of that kind of exalted, romantic, highly symbolic style that he has, where he's drawing upon images and icons of classical Greek, Roman sort of literature to put forward ideas. And this was a connection to the Romantic era, a connection to the response of writers of literature to utilize such romantic imagery, partially as a response to the Enlightenment and the movement towards a more scientific and rational way of thinking. But I think he uses it as a way of representing an older order, or if you like, a pre-war order, a kind of a mentality and a way of viewing the world about traditionalism and notions of purity, essence, the idea that, you're bigger than just a physical being on earth, that scientific rationalism, that logical way of viewing reality. It's more about the soul and those sorts of kind of ideals. So let's begin. So he begins, sorry it's a little bit blurred, with some of these images of statues in a garden, and the overall meaning of this structure of this first stanza has a really tight rhyming scheme, yet it's got a very lyrical, musical, idyllic quality to a lot of the language. That now the statues lean over each other, each to each, and sing. Gravely in warm plaster turning, the hedges are dark. The trees come suddenly to flower with moonlight, the water gardens to glassy fire, and the night. So it's very, got the repetition of that word, the night. It seems like a magical, warm imagery is very beautiful, sort of a passionate place. The glassy fire breaks in a rain of stars. It's got that hyperbolic imagery, which is kind of that really exaggerated, idealized imagery. We've got the images of nature, and you've got the character of the old gardener who has grown old with raking. So it's interesting. I wonder what the raking is referring to. What has he grown old doing? We get the sense that he's important, he's got a capital letter, he's been there a long time, and that he is referring to a process of tending, nurturing, ordering, structuring. He seems to be a comforting presence. He bends by his flickering candle and hears the noise, and is nodding his head at a music of copper shaking. So he seems to be a kind of witness to all of this that's going on. He's a gardener. He's not a Greek or Roman statue. That his characterization is such that he seems to be a mere mortal. But he is someone that's part of earth, I suppose. And he's listening, and there's the flickering candle. So something is going out. And he's also hearing a noise of something coming. And perhaps it's the noise of Mercury whispering to some little graven boys. And Mercury, we know, is a god associated with merchants and thievery and trickster. And the little graven boys, we imagine, are highly impressionable. And perhaps graven, very serious, I'm not sure. We've got a shift away from this exalted, idealized, euphonic sense of a utopic kind of garden, this moment in time, this sort of state. And we've got also, I just want to draw your mind to this idea of ekphrastic, which is describing the visual art and bringing it to life. Some people have said that this poem has elements of that in it. And so we've got Venus, and Venus is walking in a misty grove with mouths breathless with great lies of Jove. So Jove is the head, one of the head gods in Roman sort of mythology. He is equivalent of Zeus. The idea that he's telling lies, perhaps political correctness lies, or lies of what we need or who we are. And Venus, being love, the goddess of purity and giving, all of those sorts of things, is she's walking in a misty grove. It's difficult to see what's happening. He often uses water and mist, steam, as a way of obscuring clarity in a lot of his poems to Slessor. And the green silver moon flows quivering down their sides till each is lined in light. And this brass tower, she said, and we've got this technique which is aposiopesis, which is the breaking off of a sentence with this pregnant pause that forces us to contemplate what does it mean. So the brass tower has capitals, and this sense of, well, maybe it's a tower to the sky, it's something that we're reaching for. It's made of brass, it's not made of gold, it's made of brass. So what is it offering us? But a stone fawn clawed to the branches overhead, could hold his breath no longer, downward slides and crashes in a storm of leaves. Oh, look, the lake! Oh, the great dolphins from the fountain rim, and the rusty tritons, and oh, the branches break, a flute of ivory shines, it is Apollo come to swim. And so the poem interrupts itself, which there is another word for that. What was it? I can't remember, but there is a technique, if you Google it, when that sort of interrupts, a poet interrupts themselves. Can't think of what it is. But you've got this invocation, oh, the great dolphins from the fountain rim. So it's sort of apostrophizing, appealing to the silent sort of listener of the poem to look at that. We've got the rusty tritons who are there and listening. Now, tritons are similar to fawns in that they're half human, but except they're half human, half fish, sort of mermen kind of. And you've got the flute of ivory shines, it is Apollo come to swim. Apollo is supposed to be a very beautiful god, a god of light and youth, but also a god who has prophetic, can see into the future and predict things. And he's come to swim, which is noticeable when we consider that a lot of Slessor's poetry has ideas about water, and we've got the existence of tritones here and swim, water. So, and we know that he often talks about water as being a destructive, submersive force. And if we think about the climate that he was writing in or about in terms of the war, what that represented and how it comes into some of his other poetry, we wonder what that might mean. The skies open with a light from no moon or star. The dark terraces tremble, melt in a shower of petals. For me, that seems very symbolic about the skies opening. It's literally the end of the world. You've got that classic image of the skies opening and there's a shaft of light and it's heaven coming through, except there is no heaven. There's no moon or stars. There's dark terraces trembling and flowers turn to faces. Faces like small gold panes are bodied with a mist of limbs. No dark remains. That is a very chaotic and disturbing sentence about what it might mean. Nor silence, but there is laughter like bells in the air. So it kind of brings alive this kind of, to me, something dreadful is happening because there's laughter in the air, which is the laughter of a bitter, like sort of, I'm trying to think, laughter. Anyway, so we go, the world's tissue has utterly crumbled away. This old mirror. And we've got this sense that, this reflection of time and this reflection of the past, the capitalization of time, and this old life, this old order is disappeared. We'll go into the part 2 in a second.